Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Saturday evening to you all. Hope you guys are doing well out there and having yourselves an awesome weekend out there so far and a great day. Appreciate you folks joining me this evening. There is a few things to talk about. I think tomorrow will be quite active, especially for you folks in the Northeast. We got flash flooding to talk about. There will really, well, I think become a bigger storyline as we get into the late evening hours, probably more so overnight, and then we're waking up to issues more than likely for tomorrow, where I think we'll be waking up to flash flood warnings, maybe even flash flood emergencies, things like that. So we need to figure this out, try to stay ahead of it, and of course we'll give you another update on this in the morning when we do our morning updates in video. But we also have smoke to talk about. There's a lot of fires up in Canada. Some of the smoke is going to ooze down into areas of the lower 48. It already has this evening, but I think it will become very thick as we get into tomorrow. We already have air quality alerts up for a lot of areas right in the Midwest, areas of the upper Midwest, the Great Lakes region. So we're going to break that down for you folks too, talk about who could see the thickest smoke tomorrow, and try to keep you guys ahead of everything. So with that being said, if you folks have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. If you guys got anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put it in the comments below. Appreciate the amazing support just for the entire summer. As I mentioned many times before, summer is a very slow period for me and my channel, and it certainly has not been the case this summer. I don't know if this is just the new thing with this channel. I don't know what it is, but it's been nothing but steady growth with this channel. And as always, it might get to the point of annoyance, but I always want to show my appreciation for you folks. This summer has been a game changer, and I think it just goes to how much this family has grown on this channel and how much this channel is growing. And it's not just me, it's you guys too. You know, I read the comments every single day, guys, and I see how y'all interact with one another. It's really beautiful. It's awesome, and that's one of the big reasons why I made this channel, to be different, for people to interact with one another. I try to talk to you guys, not at y'all, so that's big on what I do. So I appreciate people who have joined the channel. I'm almost at 40 members. I believe I'm at 36, 37 members right now. So thank y'all for the people who decide to join and support what I do unconditionally. So thank you folks for that. With that being said, let's get rolling here. Let's take a look at water vapor loop. So if we take a look at this, if you look right here on the eastern U.S., there's a lot more, I guess, whiter colors that you're seeing, if that makes sense. That's basically where there's more moisture in the atmosphere. And basically we got this pretty potent cold front moving through. It's not changing the air temperatures a whole lot. It's just that time of the year where cold fronts don't do a whole lot, but maybe drop your air temperatures down as much as 5-6 degrees, which is somewhat a little bit of a relief, but not a whole lot. But ahead of this front, you have a surge of moisture, and you got pieces of energy riding the boundary of this front, which is a boundary, and you have a shortwave trough that's already moving across areas of the southern apps, and this will continue to move northeastward and bring a funnel of moisture. Precipitation values will be very high. The atmosphere will be juiced up, and we'll talk about all that here in a second in detail. But, you know, obviously where you have the more actual whiter colors popping up on the water vapor loop, that is where you actually have these showers and storms popping up. I always love to look at water vapor loop. It really shows it what's going on in the atmosphere out there a lot better, in my opinion. So let's continue to roll. So the big storyline this video is the flash flooding tomorrow. This is for tomorrow, for our Sunday, starting tomorrow morning through Monday morning, that 24-hour period. We have a moderate risk for flash flooding to occur. So that means there's at least a 40% risk of flash flood guidance being met within 25 miles in any given location. I'm going to tell you guys know up here in the Northeast, most folks in the country know, you guys are already very wet. Your soil is saturated, so there's going to be a lot of runoff. The soil can't hold but so much. So I would not be surprised one bit if we wake up tomorrow morning, as we do our morning video, if we have a high risk somewhere inside of this moderate risk. Wouldn't be surprised one bit. Several inches of rain could fall very quickly in a 24-hour period. All right, so we have the moderate risk right now. We even get a little bit closer to this. This includes some southern New England, Concord, southern areas of Vermont, down to New York City, okay, higher populated areas, northern New Jersey, areas of the Poconos, the Catskills, the Berkshires, maybe very, very far southern sections of the Adirondacks. You guys could get a lot of rain too, but if you notice, this is a little bit further south than maybe what happened several days ago up here. Okay, but there's still some higher hills, higher elevations in this region. Technically, the moderate risk is not all the way to Boston. It's like right outside the western city limits, but don't get so caught up on the actual boundary and gradient of these risk areas. But the entire state of Connecticut, you might as well say the entire state of Rhode Island, a large section of Massachusetts, like I said, the northern half of New Jersey, southern sections of New York State, and almost all of New Hampshire and about half of Vermont is under this, even a small section of eastern PA. So a lot of rain. This is going to look different probably when we wake up in the morning. It might shrink, it might broaden, you might get a high risk introduced into this, but this is a big deal. This is really going to be a big deal, I think, especially as we're getting into the late overnight hours into tomorrow morning. We look at watches and warnings. I know we normally look at a different graphic than this, and I do want to throw this out there. Death Valley is going to flirt with an all-time record high tomorrow. We'll talk about that. I'm not sure how hot they are right now, but they're probably blazing hot. Just be careful if you're out there in the Southwest. So you guys know about the heat. It's brutal. It's a dry heat, but 130 degrees is 130 degrees, right? So you will know here tons of flood watches up for basically all of New England, not just southern New England, all of New England, most of the Northeast, these higher populated areas like New York City up to Boston, eastern PA too, got some bigger towns and cities in that area. But you look in here in these gray areas, that's our air quality alerts, guys. That's not dense fog advisories that look similar to the air quality alerts in color. That is air quality alerts for all of the southern half of Minnesota. This will probably go into Iowa also. I guess the National Weather Service in these regions are waiting to pull the trigger, or maybe you guys are under an air quality alert and it's not showing up on this map, but all of Michigan, all of Indiana, a few counties in Ohio, a few counties in northern Kentucky, all of Illinois, Wisconsin, the southern half of Minnesota. You also got it in Montana and then areas in Nebraska. There's a lot of wildfires ongoing right now in Canada. I want to also note there, and we're going to talk more on that here in a second. I just wanted to show you guys the alerts of everything. There is a severe weather chance tomorrow, like there will be probably for the foreseeable future. There's a chance for strong to severe storms any day in the summer. We're not going to talk about this. We'll do that in the morning. I want to mention this too because there is a tornado risk, very small, in the same area that you have a flash flooding risk. Okay, I know it's hard to see on the screen. I want to look at Pivotal Weather and zoom in on this, but for whatever reason, their graphics weren't up right now. But there's a 2% risk of a tornado within 25 miles in any given location. Okay, so please be aware of this. We'll see if this increases, and But with this short wave trough moving through, this is going to put a little bit of kinematics into the region that might support a very, very isolated and quick spin up. Okay, so we need to be aware of that too. We'll talk a little bit about that here in a second. All right, so we take a look at what's going on right now, and then we'll look at what the HRR model and some other model guidance show for this rain event. As you can tell, we got a lot of rainfall in West Virginia. It's very stormy. We've had a couple tornado warnings out there. It's stormy here in Western Virginia. Storms are scattered and smothered about here in the Carolinas. We're watching for an organizing line. So, if you got any outdoor activities in the Carolinas, even all the way down to Augusta, Georgia, models have been picking up on this well. There is a somewhat organized, this somewhat disorganized line of storms trying to develop. This is going to try to sweep through the Carolinas throughout the late evening. You got the showers and the regular afternoon summer showers and storms down here in Florida. Some rain's beginning to move out of Ohio. Strong storm moving into Erie. But what I'm trying to get at here, we even got a severe storm in New Jersey right now. Stormy conditions just outside New York City. Is all this moisture that you see right here, and let's see if this will work. All this moisture is going to surge into this. And then with a flow more so out the south that's going to surge into southern New England, these showers and storms, which will be heavy in nature. It's not just a heavy rain. These are going to be storms moving over the same areas. This is going to create an atmosphere into this region that is going to support flash flooding for sure. And this is obviously you get all the way further north too. But this is definitely going to support a big time flooding risk all the way up here, as all this moisture is going to continue to move in. And not just that moisture, it's not just when you get that moisture through, it's done. More showers and storms will develop along this moisture too. So it's coming. You already got isolated storms up here in this region right now. So if we take a look at the HRRR model, and then we'll look at the FV3 model. So this is what it's saying it might look like around 4 a.m. Eastern time tonight. So all this moisture continues to work its way into New York states, eastern PA, New Jersey, all the way down to Maryland. Okay, and we keep this rolling. We start to get to around sunrise. It's around 7 a.m. right now. Lots of heavy rain all the way up into Canada. Heavy rain and eastern areas of New York State. You're probably going to be waking up to a very stormy Sunday morning in the New York City area, Long Island, New Jersey, and you just got these storms all over the place. It's not going to look exactly like this, but just know that you're going to wake up to very stormy conditions, a lot of heavy rain. You keep moving, and this is around mid-morning, tons of heavy rain in this area. And I cannot reiterate this enough, and I'll show you here in a second. The atmosphere, precipitation value-wise, will be over 2 inches to 2.5 inches. And if you don't know what that means, it's basically just how much precipitation is the atmosphere going to hold, and it's going to be loaded. So it basically means there's no dry air aloft to evaporate any of this moisture way up into the atmosphere. So basically all this rain everything's going to fall moisture wise is what I'm trying to say, and I'll kind of talk about that here in a second. But we continue to get going here. This big plume of showers and storms. Storms are kind of embedded in this big plume of moisture. Storms way up here in Maine too, right over Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts. And you think, okay, we're getting lunchtime, maybe a clearing, right? Well, no, you got more storms developing, and this is going to surge. And you cannot discount the flooding threat down here in southern areas of New Jersey too, Long Island. You might get little breaks here and there. This is around 3 p.m. You're getting a little break here in Mass and, New Hampshire, Vermont. But this very well could be filled in. And you got more storms forming behind this. These could be strong to severe back here in PA, southern tier of New York. And you continue to keep rolling here. Heavy rain over Maine, New Hampshire. And then finally, you get into the evening time frame. Do you get a little break? Maybe. But it still, I think by the time you get into late evening, it's still raining cats and dogs here in southern New England, raining pretty good in Maine. And I'm showing you this, guys, and this could look totally different, but by the time you get into the wee hours in the morning, Monday morning, we're done. But I'm telling you, this is going to drop a ton of rain. We look at the FV3 model, how it could potentially look. It's around 6, 7 a.m., big storms right over southern New England, all of New England. More so just some kind of moderate to heavy rain up here in northern sections of New York State, Vermont, New Hampshire. But you stop here, it's around 9 a.m., and it is absolutely unloading tropical type air mass in this region. This isn't just a nice, moderate to heavy, like autumn-like rain where, it's cool, crisp. This is a tropical air mass riding right over New England, okay? You keep this going. And you got a ton of heavy rain. This is lunchtime. It's raining like crazy in New Hampshire, Vermont, up here in Maine. Remember, we can't ignore Maine. Maine has the moderate risk too, up here in southern portions of the state. Storms down here. And this continues all the way through the afternoon. This is the evening hours. And then, both models kind of agree that there could be a little bit of a break. And then, do we get one last hurrah of moisture that kind of moves through late in the evening, overnight hours tomorrow night? It's quite possible. So a lot of moisture. This, it moves in, it moves out, but this is going to dump a lot of. This is those situations where you can, get an inch of rain in 30 minutes, okay, and then you'll get more that moves in. So it's a big deal. All right. So we look at precipitation values, right? I can tell you from experience, when you get precipitation values like over 2 inches, 2.5 inches. That's like precipitation values you see in tropical storms, hurricanes. That means that it's extremely humid. The atmosphere is loaded with moisture. Okay, once you get kind of low, below 2 inches, it's not low by any means. But once you get to like an inch in precipitation values, you can still get rain. But maybe some of these storms don't there's maybe not as much rain in some of these storms than if the atmosphere is loaded like this is. So if you start off this evening, look at this big time moisture field moving in. And then by the time you're waking up tomorrow morning, you got precipitation values over 2 inches in these regions. Over Long Island, they're around 2.5 inches. This is right up the I-95 corridor from the Delmarva region all across New Jersey, all the way into southern New England. The atmosphere is absolutely saturated. So it's like a tropical rainforest type atmosphere, huge moisture field. And this continues throughout the afternoon hours, just tons of moisture. And then eventually you're waking up Monday morning, a little bit more dry air begins to work its way through. You look at this like sounding wise, right? So I took a sounding. I don't know where I clicked. I think it was somewhere in Connecticut. The air temperature, this is around, tomorrow early afternoon. Air temperature is around 77 degrees. The dew point's in the low 70s. And if you don't know, dew point's in the 70s is very humid air. Okay, but if you notice, the air temperature and the dew points are riding right up against each other, all the way up to like 40,000 feet up in the air. So a lot of times when you climb in elevation, which the higher you get up the higher you get up in the air, a lot of times you got little areas of mid-level dry air. So the dew point will substantially drop and go back up, or sometimes just drop like a rock. So you got a lot of dry air aloft. So in this case, there's no dry air aloft. The column is fully saturated all the way up to the upper levels of the atmosphere. So yeah, it's going to be wild. Even though it says a non-severe weather hazard type, if you look at this hodograph right here, it loops a little bit. So it tells me some of these storms could have a little bit of spin to them. It probably doesn't show a severe threat because I probably put it right over like light rain or something. I'm not sure, but regardless, there could be some isolated spin ups. We'll show you that in a second. But a saturated column in this region for sure. So we look at rainfall, National Weather Service, and you know what? Let's go on and let's see. Do this on the fly here, guys. Y'all bear with me. Doesn't have a New Jersey one. Let's show Pennsylvania. Yeah. So Pennsylvania, eastern PA, 1 inch, inch and a half of rain's possible. Look at northern New Jersey, though. Okay. There's some higher elevations in northern New Jersey. Once you get away from the city regions, you immediately start to get in some hills, some mountainous regions. But the Poconos, you get up here to Catskills, 1 to 2, maybe as much as 3 inches of rain will fall in probably a 12 to 18 hour period. Probably less, probably more so a 12-hour period. But, New York City can get 1 to 2 inches of rain. But I'm telling you, this is likely going to overachieve. I want to tell you, the National Weather Service always goes conservative. But they know they go conservative for a reason. Basically, a lot of people in the professional business start conservative with things, and then as confidence increases, they increase. We got a local meteorologist, and it's not a diss on him whatsoever because I like him. He does great forecasts, and I actually favor what he does. His name is Brad Panovich. He's local here in Charlotte, North Carolina, in the Carolinas. Well-known meteorologist, and he gets a lot of heart because he always downplays snow. He always keeps the snow accumulations low, and then he increases it once you get about inside 48 hours. And he does that because a lot of times when it comes to winter weather, we get the rug pulled out from under us when they're calling for winter weather. A lot of times it's looking like we're going to get 6 inches of snow. All of a sudden you get 2 days out looking like 3 inches, and then you get 24 hours out, you might get some flurries with some rain mix. So that's how it is. That's why you start low. But there's some bickering about that too because it makes people less aware. But anyways, enough of that. I like to get sidetracked with some side stories here. But you look at southern New England, look at this little stripe of really heavy rain. They're going for 2 to 3, maybe as much as 4 inches of rain just north of New York City into the Hartford region, into the Worcester Hills. Guys, I love saying that. And New Hampshire, Vermont. It doesn't show a ton of rain, but just remember, some of this rain could fall. Some people can get 4 to 6 inches of rain. It's quite possible. You get up here in Maine, a lot of rain's going to fall too. But anywhere from 1 to as much as 4 inches of rain scattered about in southern New England that could fall in a relatively short amount of time. And this isn't a ton of rain, but you got to remember these areas have already seen a ton of rain. Okay, you go up here to Maine, A lot of rain, and this goes all the way out. A little bit too far. We'll go all the way out to Monday morning. And, 2, 3, 4, maybe as much as 5 inches of rain. We got to watch this eastern and western and southwestern portion of Maine that I think can get a lot of rain. So we'll do this again in the morning. We'll keep you guys aware of what's going on. But I will tell you, updraft Felicity swath does not show much, but it does show some little isolated areas of some spinners. So, certainly be aware of, isolated spin up. I would not be surprised one bit we get a few tornado warnings up here in southern New England tomorrow. Not one bit. Let's talk about the smoke really quick. I will tell you, this is a pretty cool site. It's just a U.S., Canada. It's just the fire information from the resource management system. And, where they got the little blazes, that's where wildfires are either current or been reported. And, you can tell Canada's basically on fire. So, just about every area in Canada is on fire up there right now. Obviously not the entire, not the entire country or anything like that, but there's a lot of wildfire fires out there. So, this smoke, depending on the pattern aloft, it gets dragged down here. And if you actually look at the water vapor loop, you see how there's ridging out west, right? Bringing that record-breaking heat. So the flow on top of this ridge comes in like this, and then it drops down like this. Okay, you see how it kind of rises up back here, and then it goes all the way up into Canada, comes down, and then it has to come back down like this. All right, so it's actually bringing in all this smoke down into this region. So you can actually see the current in the atmosphere that is ripping all the smoke from the upper levels of the atmosphere all the way down into the lower 48. So if you look at the model, which, this isn't always dead on, but it's called the near surface smoke density on the HRRR model. We're waking up tomorrow morning with some smoke in the area in Chicago, Madison, Wisconsin, Milwaukee, Des Moines, Ames, probably even Minneapolis, and we keep this going, and this spreads even further into the Ohio Valley, the Midwest, southern areas of Michigan. And this looks like a really thick plume of smoke right in here, maybe around the Ames, Des Moines area, moving into Cedar Rapids, Dubuque area, and then maybe tomorrow afternoon, late afternoon, evening, the smoke can get quite thick, maybe around the Chicago area. But, this model doesn't always do the best job, but just know it's going to be smoky in this entire area tomorrow. So be aware, got any outdoor activities, and if you're sensitive to this kind of stuff, which it doesn't take a sensitive person to be sensitive to this kind of stuff, but some people it certainly bothers a little bit worse than others. So be safe out there. Hope this video helped. God bless all y'all. We'll do it again in the morning, and I'll talk to you and see you then. God bless.